Oh, great. View settings. Okay, dashboard. Dashboard. I can't see myself. There we go. This crazy thing. Okay. Listen, this is 30 Sayings of the Wise, part 2. Crazy Facebook. They don't know what to do. They keep changing the format on me. And so bear with me. Okay. God, Jesus, I'm so technology unsavvy. Okay. Listen, they didn't train me in this when I went to Bible school and seminary. I'm having to learn all this. And it just bores the daylights out of me. Okay. I may just go on a street corner and start preaching. When I don't have to fool with any microphones or computers or anything like that. If I just speak loud enough, maybe I can draw a crowd. Anyway, that's where wisdom says it's calling from. Okay, let me review a little bit in case there are some people that are here for the first time. We're going through the book of Proverbs. The first third part of the book of Proverbs was written by Solomon, primarily addressed to his son, not to get involved in things that he got involved in, that he talked a whole lot about, but told his son not to do, and that's with women, with an adulteress or mistresses or, having too many women in his life, because it got in a whole lot of trouble. A third of his book covers that, okay? Then after that, up to about chapter 10, from chapter 10 all the way to 22, you have 375 individual Proverbs of Solomon. Okay? Then, after that, then we have another section. And we're going to get back to Solomon, but meanwhile, kind of in between, we have what's called 30 Sayings of the Wise. Okay? Yesterday I gave 5 of them. And today I'm going to give you 5 more. So if you have your Bibles, we'll pick it up on in Proverbs chapter 23. We're going to go from verses 1 all the way to verse 11. And that's going to cover 5 different sayings of the wise, or warnings. Okay? Now, look, I'm going to put on some reading glasses. Okay? Don't make fun of me, please. I'm very insecure. So as I'm getting older, I'm getting gray hair and everything like that. So don't make fun of me. But I can't see my own notes. And here's the problem. I'm going to put them on. Okay. Okay, they're on. I can see my notes. I can read it. But now I can't see you. Okay. Okay. Let's go to the first one. Chapter 23, verses 1 to 3. It's talking about table manners. When you what kind of manners you have when you go eat at somebody's house. It says, when you sit down to dine with a ruler, consider carefully what is before you, and put a knife to your throat. If you are a man of great appetite, do not desire his delicacy, for it is deceptive food. When you go eat at somebody's house, or to somebody, or a banquet, okay, a couple of things that is very wise to do, and with your table manners. And one is to be humble. Second of all, to be restrained. Okay? If you'll notice in verse 3, it says, do not desire his delicacy, for it is deceptive food. You're thinking that, wow, he's got all this great food out in front of me. Look at that, man. And you're kind of hungry, and you're looking at all those delicacies. But he's not thinking like that. You know what he's thinking about? Each little anchovy, each little thing you put in your mouth, each shrimp, all that, what it's costing him. Meanwhile, you're there, oh man, this is really great. This is awesome, good food, and you're stuffing yourself. And it's interesting, but it says, consider carefully what is before you and put a knife to your throat. In other words, instead of using the knife to cut up your food and stuff yourself, you might as well just put it to your throat, because as far as this wise man is concerned, that's what you're doing. You're cutting your throat in front of this person. This is not a guy that really wants you there. He has an alternative motive. Okay? And he's trying to butter you up to betray you. You know, hey, come on over for dinner. You know, there's actually a tribe in Papua New Guinea, and their whole religion is based on a concept of treachery. What they do is they make friends with you. Their goal is to kill you. Okay, they want to kill you and eat you. But what they want to do is get you to lower your defenses. So they befriend you. They do things for you. They feed you. They do. Just when you're feeling really comfortable, they kill you. It's an interesting, you can read a story about it. It's called Peace Child by Don Richardson, or Lords of the Earth. It's a fascinating story. But that's what they do. That's their practice. And so these wise people are saying, hey, listen, when you go and eat at somebody's house or to some banquet, restrain yourself. Watch your table manners. They may not be feeding you with the right motive and intent. They may be looking to betray you. Okay, so that's the first warning. And it says, do not desire his delicacies, for it is deceptive food. You know, I wouldn't want to be fed that way. You know, I've been in houses like that, and I watch myself real carefully. And I'm real, you know, I'm keeping my eyes on the host. I'm watching what he's watching, you see. But if he's kind of, you know, he's giving you an evil eye, or he's looking kind of strange, and he doesn't look too happy, then I know he's calculating in his mind. You know, he's got some other motive. And, you know, biblical discernment that we learn from here tells us to do that. Now, it may not be. He may be a generous host. He may have a real gift of giving, you know, so it's up to you to make that discernment. But watch your table manners whenever you go to eat, especially at a banquet or some rich person's house or somebody that you don't know very well. Okay, second one. Second warning of the wise, verses 4 to 5. Do not weary yourself to gain wealth. Cease from your consideration of it. When you set your eyes on it, it is gone. For wealth certainly makes itself wings, like an eagle that flies towards the heaven. You know, what does it say? Don't work yourself up. Don't overwork yourself and work too many long hours to gain money, because it's going to fly away. You know, and not only that, but people that work themselves up to try to get rich in a hurry. I go in these stores sometimes to pay for gas or to buy a soda or something, and there'll be a long line of people waiting to buy lottery tickets. You know, and it's very interesting. It says, but the wealth certainly will make itself wings. In other words, they're imagining, and in their mind, they're visualizing an imaginary thing. It doesn't exist. This wealth that they think they're going to have is only in their minds. It's not there. And the wise people are saying, hey, don't worry yourself. And not only that, don't even think about it. Okay? Because as soon as you set your eyes on it, hey man, here's a way I can make a lot of money. Boom, it's gone. You know, how many people have fallen into ruin like that? I have family members right now that are like that. You know? and they're seeking to do something really fast and it doesn't happen, and they're going to be disappointed, and then they're going to be frustrated, going to blame God and everybody else. You were warned not to do that, not to work long hours and get out of balance, and it says here, for wealth certainly makes itself wings like an eagle. You ever watch eagles flying? Man, they can go so high. And it says that here, like an eagle that flies towards the heaven. They're imagining what is not. That's so clever. But, I think of a lot of people, especially in materialistic societies, and, they got their eyes on the wrong things, and they're going to work hard, and they're going to get it. Even when they get it, they can't enjoy it. Because then they think everybody's trying to take it away from them. So, we need to take to heart what these wise people are saying. Don't work yourself up to try to get rich. It's fleeting. How many rich people, really rich people, do you know that are really happy, that really have a lot of joy? There's not a lot of them. I know quite a few rich people, but most of them are not happy at all. They're always griping or complaining about something. And if they try to do you any favors, they got strings attached. Okay? The most generous people in the world I've found are the poorest. They'll give you the shirt off their back because, they know what it's like not to have a shirt. Okay, so 2 warnings. One, restrain yourself when it comes to when you go to eat someplace with somebody new, and restrain yourself in getting a lot of money. And, okay, let's look at the next warning. Verse 6 to 8. Do not eat. This kind of goes along with the first warning. Do not eat the bread of a selfish man, or desire his delicacy. For as he thinks within himself, so he is. He says to you, this is what he's thinking, eat and drink, but his heart is not with you. You're going to end up vomiting up the morsels you have eaten and waste your compliments. Okay, here you're with this stingy person. He's not thinking about feeding you. He's thinking of the costs. And every time you're taking a bite, he's thinking ka-chink, ka-chink, what it's costing him. And so he's a very selfish one. And it's interesting, but in the verse, in the Hebrew, where it says, do not eat the bread of a selfish man, in the translation in the Hebrew for selfish man is really a person with an evil eye. As you're eating, man, this is good. He's over there. Ka-chink, ka-chink. Now, I got a real vivid imagination. I can picture this scene as a bystander. I'm over here in the background watching this stingy, evil man with an evil eye watching his guests stuffing himself. And they're cracking up watching this guy stuffing himself and knowing what this guy is thinking about him. And so which one, but I'm learning. I'm going to be the bystander. I'm going to be the one watching. Okay? I'm not going to be the one participating in doing that. Okay? I tell you what, Proverbs is so exciting. It's just great to be able to get in here and get the perspective that God has on interrelationships of sinful human beings, And I think God would have us to be that bystander watching. Okay, let's go to the next. By the way, he says you're going to end up vomiting. I can see you leaving from there. By now you know that this guy wasn't with you at all. And on your way home, you're throwing up not only what you ate, but all the compliments you gave him. You were trying to put, man, this is really good, and so forth. Okay, next one. Next warning. Do not speak in the hearing of a fool, for he will despise the wisdom of your words. let's say perchance I get a meeting with Biden and Kamala Harris and Pelosi, okay? What does the wise person tell me to do here? It says, don't speak, and you're just going to waste your words. It says, do not speak in the hearings of a fool. Why? They're useless. They're not going to, I see all these people that are sending comments to them, and some of them, they're trying to raise up arguments and all that. They're just wasting their breath. They're not going to listen to you. And Proverbs says that it's not only that, they're going to despise the wisdom of your words. And if they're scoffers, which I believe some of them are, they're going to hate you. So what is the wise saying here? You know, and Solomon said a lot of that too. As you go back and read through the 375 things and even the things he told his son. Well, these other wise people are saying, you know, they made some observations too. They said, hey, it doesn't do any good to speak in the presence of a fool, because they're not going to hear you anyway. So recognize who your audience is. You don't gain the attention of a fool by speaking to him. You know how you gain the attention of a fool? By startling him. The best thing you could do is slap him upside the head. Yeah, and do it again and again and again. That's how they listen. That's the only way, because that's what in Proverbs says it compares a fool to a donkey and a horse. Okay? In fact, the fool takes the worst and harshest punishment in order to get their attention. It says a rod for the back of a fool. That's how you get a fool's attention. You got to startle them somehow. Okay? The problem is we got all these weak leaders in Washington and in Congress that don't want to startle them. Democrats don't have any problems doing that. But a lot of conservative Republicans and a lot of, wheezy, wussy Christians, they don't want to say anything, and startle them in such a way, or they want to do anything. And so it's really going to take more than words. It takes action. What's the kind of action that will startle them? Okay? Something that will startle them will know that they're going to lose their position, their power. Okay? How can you do that? Come up with some interesting observations and some interesting ideas. Write them down and go do them. Okay, next one. So do not speak in the hearing of a fool. It's useless. Okay, next one. Last one. Number 10. By the way, there's 30 sayings. I've done 5. This is the 10th. I did 5 yesterday. It's the 10th one that I'm doing. And this one we kind of spoke on in the last one, because Solomon had mentioned it as well. Do not move the ancient boundary. Okay, or go to the field of the fatherless. For their Redeemer is strong, and he will plead their case against you. Okay, when it comes to orphans or widows or kids that don't have, a support structure, and God is trying to take care of them in a unique way, and he makes provisions for them for you to take something that God is providing for them, God takes notice of that. And it says, for their Redeemer is strong. And that's speaking of God. And it says, and he will plead their case against you. He's going to make a way somehow for you to suffer for what you've done. There's no greater religion in the world than to help somebody that cannot pay you back. They don't have the means to repay you. There's nothing they can do to give back to you. But I'll tell you what, you give to poor people or to orphans or widows that are, stuck at home, especially with this coronavirus thing, and a lot of them are shut-ins. And you go and visit them or you help them in some way, man, they are so appreciative. Kids would hug you and they don't want to let you go. Well, you give some of these stingy people that have a lot, they could care less. They just probably throw it in a shell somewhere, or, But there's nothing that we want to do that interferes with the fields The fields basically is that means of receiving resources for orphans and widows, and I know that a lot of people rob from them. They take advantage of them, and that shouldn't be. Okay, let me review them again. First one, watch your table manners. Be careful. They may not always be with you. Second one, don't try to get rich. Don't work too many hours. Balance out your life, okay? Otherwise, you're going to miss out. What does it profit a man? He gains the whole world but loses his soul. His soul basically is his identity. He's lost in many marriages, a lot of families broken because of that. Okay, there's a lot of things, I'd rather be, my mom never worked outside of the home when I grew up. She was always there for us, and I'm thankful for that. We didn't have a lot, but we had mom at home, okay? And my dad was gone a lot in the military, but, mom was always there. She could have gone out and worked, but she chose to be there where we needed her, not just when we were young kids, but in our teenage years too, Okay, third thing, do not, watch yourself when you're around stingy people. And you'll recognize them, they're the penny pinchers. They're always wanting something from you, but they're not willing to contribute. You have family members like that. I have family members like that. They're always willing to take from you, but they don't ever thinking about giving to you. You have friends like that. They're freeloaders. And to really know if they're your friend, watch if you don't have anything anymore to give, and they'll kind of find somebody else to hang with. Okay, so it's a lot of wisdom in this. Okay, next one. Don't speak to fools. You're just wasting your time. I see people getting arguments and debates with people on Facebook. Then they let them go. Okay, only thing you can do with a fool is startle them. Okay, just like you would a donkey if you didn't want to move. Okay, and the next one is and the last one, don't fool with orphans or widows or poor people. Okay, we're going to do 5 more, let's see, tomorrow or Saturday, and then we're going to continue on all the way till we get to Proverbs 31, about the Proverbs 31 woman. I got an interesting message to bring you about that. Okay, I think a lot of women in America are going to be greatly mad at me, or they're going to be thankful if they are following that course. Okay, God bless you. You all have a good day, and we'll see you tomorrow.